AD ASTRA means to the stars. The movie is set in the near future when manned space travel within the solar system has been achieved. For the story of AD ASTRA, director James Gray was inspired by Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness, which we all read in high school. Now here the protagonist and narrator is Major Roy McBride, an astronaut played by Brad Pitt in one of his career-defining performances. He's sent to find out what happened to the Lima project, the first manned mission to the outer solar system. Lima traveled to the planet Neptune 29 years earlier, but no one's heard anything from them for 16 years, and as a result, deep space missions have been halted. Violent antimatter surges emanating from the region of Neptune are destabilizing the solar system and will cause a chain reaction that destroys all life on Earth. The Lima project's leader was Roy's father, Clifford McBride, a decorated astronaut hailed as a hero by Space Command, at least publicly. He was a distant father, and Roy became an astronaut to obtain his approval. Roy is a stoic, but has bouts of rage, like his father, and is unable to connect emotionally with his wife. She leaves him. So this movie is science fiction, but also a character study, as well as a realistic depiction of the coldness and vastness of space, an immeasurable vacuum that is silent, oppressive, and without pity, which could also describe the character of Clifford McBride, the father, who's played by Tommy Lee Jones, in one of his great performances. If we think about Heart of Darkness, Tommy Lee Jones is playing Kurtz. In the movie, Clifford McBride was disillusioned with humanity and became obsessed with discovering intelligent life elsewhere. Turns out the crew of the Lima mutinied and tried to return to Earth, but Clifford shut off all communications and life support, killing his crew. That information is classified. On an outpost on Mars, which is the last remaining outpost yet to be destroyed by the antimatter surges, Roy is shown a recording of his father saying, "I punish the innocent along with the guilty." He's gone insane, just like Kurtz in Heart of Darkness. Space Command didn't inform Roy that the real purpose of journeying to Neptune is to launch nuclear munitions against the Lima project. This film is distinctive in its depiction of space. The movements of the actors here wearing spacesuits and space helmets are agonizingly slow, as you would expect in zero gravity. And the audience is right there with the characters as they do their spacewalks, clinging to ladders and external handles on spaceships, often without a tether. Now, these scenes are nerve-wracking, and the cinematography gives us a sense of the incalculable height and depth that surround the astronauts in the cold reaches of space. There's one scene early in the film with the International Space Antenna in which an antimatter surge pushes Roy off a ladder and he goes into free fall. Now, if you're scared of heights, and even if you're not scared of heights, that scene is heart-pounding. A part of the film takes place on the moon, which is now a disputed area and a war zone. Roy travels to the moon on a commercial flight to avoid media attention, and he observes that the airport on the moon is filled with drink stands and souvenir shops, which would have disgusted his father. It annoys Roy as well. He travels by jeep to the far side of the moon, where a ship will launch to the Mars outpost, but on the way they're attacked by mercenaries that are protected by various nations. And Roy observes, well, here we are again, competing for resources. The journey to Mars is catastrophic. The ship, the Cepheus, makes a detour to a research vessel in distress, and it turns out that monkeys being studied for zero gravity become violent and kill the crew. Now, they also kill the captain of the Cepheus when he boards the vessel, and the crew float his body out into space and say a prayer. May you meet your Redeemer face to face and enjoy the vision of God forever. So there's this spiritual moment all of a sudden. This movie is extraordinary. When they get to Mars, Roy transmits messages to his father. Space Command eventually receives an answer, but Roy fails his psych evaluation and is prohibited from traveling to Neptune to complete the mission. He stows away on the ship the Cepheus and is discovered by the crew. Per orders, they try to kill Roy, but the oxygen in the cabin is compromised. They all suffocate to death except Roy, who's wearing a spacesuit. As the only person left alive on the ship, he tells Space Command he will continue to Neptune and detonate the Lima project with nukes. The journey takes months. He listens to tapes of his father, who says, "I'm free of your moral boundaries now. I have total clarity. I'm doing God's work." Exaltation. Now, Roy begins to go a bit stir-crazy as well from the zero gravity, which he always thought he preferred to Earth's gravity. He watches recordings of his wife, who says Roy was always preoccupied with work and she couldn't just wait for him. She's her own person and has her own life. he reaches Neptune. He spacewalks into the Lima project and sets the nuclear munitions. Then he encounters his father, the last remaining Lima survivor. Roy tells him, "Dad, we have to leave," but his father says, "No, this is a one-way journey. I've been here 30 years, enduring hardships, and I never once thought of home. I never cared for you or your mother or any of your small ideas." And Roy says, "I know, Dad, but I love you anyway." His father reveals that the Lima project found there was no intelligent life out there, and that's why the crew tried to turn back. Roy gets his father into a spacesuit, and they begin the spacewalk, but Clifford launches himself out into space and tells his son, "Let me go," and he releases the tether. So the movie poster, which shows an astronaut floating in outer space, that's Clifford, who's decided to die out there. Now, Roy contemplates dying as well, but he turns back. And it's exciting. He has to pry a piece of metal off the Lima spacecraft to use as a shield against a storm of debris. And once he reaches the Cepheus, he has to grasp an exterior handle or miss his chance to escape the blast radius. Very dramatic. For the return journey, he uses the nuclear blast as the ship's primary propellant and sets a course for Earth. When he reaches Earth, he reunites with his wife and has a renewed sense of hope for their future. This film, in its depiction of the near future, is gritty realism, but also quiet serenity and quiet oppression in the cold vacuum of outer space. Now, we don't see a lot of twinkling stars in the night sky. Apparently, from space, the sky all around us appears as a never-ending midnight. This film gives us a view of Earth from the moon, calling it the blue marble that never ceases to amaze. Brad Pitt's performance here is realistic, not hyperbolic, which is difficult in science fiction. His performance is integral to the film's tone. The character has a low BPM, never above 80, even when in free fall at the beginning of the film. Apparently, this quality is prized among astronauts who need to keep calm under pressure. Brad Pitt performs this character as a stoic, so when he does lose his composure, it's all the more impactful. Brad Pitt is superb in the role. Tommy Lee Jones. When is this actor never riveting on screen? Heart of Darkness has been adapted for the movies before, and as with the book, we only meet Kurtz at the end, so the role has to be done right. Now, we need an actor with gravitas who can be unpredictable and charismatic. For example, Marlon Brando played Kurtz in Apocalypse Now, and from the moment Tommy Lee Jones appears on screen, first in video recordings, then in person, all of a sudden at the railing on board the Lima vessel, this is the moment the film has been moving toward. When he tells his son, "I never cared for you or your mother," it's a gut punch. He says, "We're a dying breed, Roy. If I had had more men like you, we really could have done something out here." Now, there aren't many actors that can play this type of role. So hateful and without pity, yet so honest, we have to thank the man for at least telling us the truth. Tommy Lee Jones rivals Brando with this performance of the Kurtz character. The director's choices are unassailable. The film has grandeur and solemnity, but it's not stodgy. Now, the movements of the actors in Zero Gravity are slow, but the film is not slow-moving. I wouldn't expect a film like this to be a blockbuster. It might have seemed too personal for that, but it deserved to be a blockbuster. While the source material is incomparable, this film adds a lofty dimension. The music is indelible as well, composed by Max Richter. All in all, a movie experience you don't want to miss. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, leave a like and don't forget to subscribe.